everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show for a second time around. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hey there, Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me on your show again. I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm calling in from Tokyo. It's just 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday, so we're one day ahead of a lot of the West. I'm British, as you can hear from my accent, and I'm the author, the award-winning author of EXODAI, which is my memoir, and it's a story about coming to terms with my sexuality with particular focus on a relationship I had with a Japanese dominatrix. And I published this book in September, and I've just been so almost overwhelmed, but excited and thrilled to be doing so much book promotion and recently to have won some awards for what I've written.
Great. And for those who don't know, can you dig into your past leading up into your awards, what you're doing now currently?
Yeah, okay. So I was British. I was brought up in a very happy, loving family. In my early teens, it became obvious that I was a lesbian and that I fancied other women. And this is going back now 40 years. I'm just over 50 at the moment. And I was essentially ostracized, not bullied, but ostracized. And my classmates, the subject of a woman fancying another woman was completely alien. Society, traditional conservative Christian values of the school, and society generally gave me the message, Elizabeth, you've got a problem. And that went into my psyche, and in my adult life it manifested in me having very poor, toxic, dysfunctional relationships. I was in complete denial. I didn't love myself as a lesbian, and it wasn't until I went on a reality TV show in the UK that I hit rock bottom and took a long, hard look at myself in the mirror and realized that I had an issue. I didn't love myself as a lesbian woman. Then began the 7-year healing process, most of which I've captured in this book, which included 2 years sort of boot camp when I was actually literally the slave. I submitted to this Japanese woman and I became her private slave. And within the framework of BDSM, she basically abused me, but it was consensual. But it was consensual because my deeper subconscious thought I deserved to be punished, because my deeper subconscious thought it was wrong to be a lesbian. So that's sort of in a nutshell. And as I went through that relationship, I wrote a diary of my experience. And as the relationship unfolded, it was a 2-year relationship, it just became so amazing. I thought this has got to be turned into a book. And basically my book, about the second half of the book is that relationship. And the first half goes back to my adolescence and talks about me discovering I'm a lesbian and how that affected my adult life. Most of my life has been fantastic. Friends, family, health, work, but sexuality and relationship has been completely dysfunctional throughout my life until the last 4 or 5 years since I learned to love myself, and then everything has been wonderful.
You have a relationship now, right? A beautiful, flourishing relationship, last I heard.
That's right. I'm in this really loving relationship with a Japanese woman. We've been living together in this beautiful apartment in central Tokyo for 5 years. We're what I call interdependent. So we're not codependent. Codependence leads to dysfunctionality. And independent means you're not together enough. But interdependent means that you're both completely in love, but you're being independent spirits in your journey and you're doing your independent things. So we have a really loving, compatible relationship. We love to do all the same things, especially going out for good food. And quite literally, so we started dating at the end of 2018. And I guess it wasn't until about 2014, 2015, when I finished the relationship with Tomo, who is the Japanese dominatrix in my book and in my life. And after that relationship, it took me about 2 years to get over her, but I was learning to love myself, came out the other side triumphant. And then my life just became much easier. I started to meet people who were interested in me, because until then, my subconscious had set me up to be attracted to women who were not available, mostly straight women. And suddenly it just life became easy once I learned to love myself, and this great relationship began, and it's still flourishing. I mean, we talk about what we'll do when we're 88 years old, you know. I mean, it's wonderful.
What does the Japanese heritage think in Japan right now, or Tokyo, about LGBT? Is they the same way with mainstream USA?
It's a very interesting and multifaceted arrangement, acceptance or relationship that Japanese society has with gay and lesbian. It's very interesting you asked that. I just read a really interesting article. I mean, the gay boy. So you remember the geisha? Now, the geisha is a woman who dresses up and entertains the men and serves tea. And they've taken the gay from geisha and applied it to gay boy. And historically, the gay boy, GEI, was a man who dressed up as a woman to serve the samurai. And it was perfectly acceptable. So there's been lots of strands of transsexuality and gay going through the centuries in Japan. And there's a sort of a tolerance. It's I would say they're more tolerant than in America. You don't have religion, you don't have religion being homophobic the same way that you do in America. And so there isn't that kind of level of homophobia. However, it is quite alien. And so you can't have a gay marriage yet in Japan. Same-sex marriages are still on the table being discussed. So I can't marry my partner currently. But it's very interesting. The relationship with the Japanese and LGTB is actually one that is quite tolerant and quite accepting, but there are certain taboos, and it isn't available as a marriage yet.
Do I see another book or two books coming out about that? Your relationship and the other thing, which is how it's taboo a little bit.
Well, I think my next book is really going to be the sequel to the current book. The current book is complete in itself, but it ends with me learning to love myself. And I sort of touch upon the healing process. And what I want to do in my second book is expand on the healing process. And I'll be talking a lot about Japan. I spent a lot of time hiking in the mountains from around 2016. I started going hiking in the beautiful Japanese mountains. And of course, they keep their hiking courses very, very, very well kept, very, very well trodden. So it's really easy to get around. They're very well signposted, and you can just get into the heart of the mountains on a 1.5-hour train ride out of central Tokyo. So yeah, I'll be talking much more about the nature of Japan and the beauty of Japan. But certainly I'll touch upon some of those taboos. I don't think I'm equipped to write an actual sort of thesis on that theme. But, maybe that's something I could research in the future. Certainly, I wouldn't shy away from it.
And how do you plan on creating these possible books, your part two? Like, are you going to actually talk about what Tomo did, or are you going to talk about your future or your present with your spouse now?
So it will be, it'll be mostly on the present and after leaving Tomo. So the first chapter, I mean, I've sort of written part of it already in my head. The first chapter will be my last dinner with Tomo, where I tell her that I can't serve her as her slave anymore. And that will be the sort of opening chapter. And then it will go on to the 2 years after that relationship, because I was distraught. I still desperately adored her, but I knew that I had to leave her for the sake of my own growth and nourishment, and just so that I could move forward. And I will focus very much on that healing process, because I was really in a very low place at that point, even though I was starting to learn to love myself. So it wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a gradual process. So the second book will focus on that, and it will obviously end on the present moment. It won't go much into the future, but I will also be talking in that same sequel. I'll be talking about the process of writing the first book, of course, which at the moment is my main focus still, is promoting this book. And of course, I've literally just been to San Diego to pick up one of my awards, which is a really wonderful.
About all of your awards and what you have accomplished with the book.
Yeah. So I'm wearing one of them today. So EXODAI, thank you. This is a silver medal. So this is a silver medal from the Next Generation Indie Book Awards. Now, an indie book is a book that is independently or self-published. So you can't enter these awards if your book has been published by HarperCollins or Penguin Random House. So it's for us independents who couldn't get that huge publishing deal. We have an opportunity to get some awards on a level playing field, and they're called indie books, INDIE. So I entered quite a number of competitions, and the Next Generation Indie Book Awards, for which I won a silver medal, is actually one of the biggest award institutions for indie books. And they had a ceremony at the end of June in line with the American Library Association Book Convention, which was also in San Diego, different country, different states every year. Next year it's in Philadelphia. I went along to the award ceremony to pick up this medal, and then I was doing book sales and book signings at the award at the American Library Association Book Convention. So I was there for 3 days that weekend. Wonderful time. Now, this silver medal was an award for the best cover design in non-fiction, and you can see why. I didn't actually design this, though I chose it and I helped the designer refine it. We put it was my suggestion to put the thorns in on the rose. Incidentally, did you know that roses, the thorns of roses point downwards, not upwards? Didn't know that until we got into this. It's to stop predators climbing up, you see. But you wouldn't think of these things. We put thorns on the wrong way up initially. But anyway, so this cover won an award for best cover design, and then I won 2 more silver medals. One for LGTB. 2 for LGBTQ Non-Fiction. One was from the National Indie Excellence Awards, and one was from the International Book Awards. Again, Indie Book Awards. And I won a gold medal, dun, 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 from the National Indie Excellence Awards, and the category was for sexuality. So there you go. This is a book about sexuality, and it's won a gold medal. So I'm really thrilled about that.
Where did you speak, and what did you say? And how many people were there?
So the awards ceremony, there were probably about 80 people. So they had given out maybe 300 awards. So there were about 80 different categories, and each category had a gold medal winner and about 2 or 3 silver medal winners. Mine was a silver medal with this particular best cover design award. There were 80 people there, and not all of the authors got to speak. So I was able, because I wasn't, if the gold medalists got to speak, some of them, not all of them. The silver medalists just went up on the stage, shook hands, collected their medal, got lots of photos taken. I actually made a video myself of the whole award ceremony and me collecting my award. So I didn't have to speak. I would have loved to, but there wasn't a platform for that time to allow all the award winners to speak. Just means we would have gone on for 10 hours or something. So but I got a nice glass of champagne and some delicious food, met some very interesting people, did a few book swaps. So I came home with a couple of very interesting books that I traded with my books. So it was really fun.
What do you want people to get out of EXODAI when they read this book?
Oh, that's a great question. And actually something I did want to tell you is that I have been getting some really tremendous feedback. So for example, on my YouTube channel, I had put up a video about my book, and one of my viewers came on and said, I'm in the middle, in his comments in the YouTube channel, he wrote a comment, I am in the middle of reading your amazing book. I'm a disabled man who cross-dresses, and I am finding your book is really helping me peel off layers to learn about who I am. And for me, that was a triumph. If I've helped that one person, then the whole book is worthwhile. And I've had a lot of similar feedback. People have been saying how much they found it relatable, particularly people from the LGBTQ community who just find it very relatable. The pain and the struggle of censoring your sexuality as you go through adult life because people just assume you're straight, and the difficulties, the pain, the confusion, falling for straight people, falling for people that are not available, and all of this process being triggered because you have a subconscious that isn't comfortable, isn't accepting itself, and how that manifests in adult life. So a lot of people have found it very relatable, and really I've had some amazing reviews. I've had a lot of Instagram reviewers give me great reviews on this book. I've got a girl now reading it, one of the influencers on Instagram, and she's going to put up a review soon, and I know she's loving it. I sent her the book all wrapped up in beautiful rose paper, big red bow, and she got it all the way from Japan. She got it in America, and she videoed herself on Instagram opening it up, and it's just it's wonderful. There's been a lot of hype on my book, particularly on Instagram, actually.
So you can say the LGBT community respects this book as a whole.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had really positive feedback from the LGBT community, also from the BDSM community. So a lot of dominatrices have come in and said how much they appreciate the book, showing the real euphoria of BDSM, as well the real trauma and tragedy of BDSM. Because at the beginning of my book, in the first half of the book, I talk about me entering into the BDSM scene in Tokyo and having some amazing experiences, and it's capturing the essence and the euphoria of when BDSM is done well and when it's done correctly in a safe environment. And then it goes on to the terrible situations and toxic relationships you can get into if you have two insecure people getting into a codependent relationship within the framework of BDSM. So a lot of BDSM professionals have really applauded this book for unpeeling the truth of BDSM, is that it can be this wonderful route to spiritual growth, but it can also be a very dangerous tool getting into all kinds of abuse and trauma.
Explain what BDSM means to those who don't know, and like in a lighter form, and
Sure.
Also tell me an excerpt from your book that deals with the good part of BDSM, if you can find it. If you can't, just give me an excerpt from your book.
Okay, so BDSM, which means bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism, is basically it kind of covers all of the kink fetishes, latex, leather, rope, whipping, medical play, needle play. It encompasses all of that. And I think the thing I would say about BDSM is that for me, and for most people who are into BDSM, it's innate. So you have a kinky interest, whatever it is that you're into. In my case, it was bondage. Your kinky interest, you know about it as a child. You don't know what it is, but you have. So I had these feelings. I wanted to be tied up when I was age 6. I was very interested in history books on the chapters about crime and punishment and torture. I was very, very interested, oddly fascinated by pictures of men in the pillory and in the stocks. And so I had that kinky interest from a very young age. And I think it was, I don't want to say it was genetic, because there's no one else in my family who has these kinky interests. I think it's to do with the way you're born, actually. But anyway, that's just a theory. It's not proven at all. But I had these interests from a very young age, and I think a lot of people in the BDSM scene do. That's not to say that you shouldn't experiment. I mean, I always say try everything once. And if you are curious, that's probably being fueled by some kind of natural interest. But you must always be very, very careful. So if you do get into a play session with a dominatrix or a master, they need to know what your boundaries are. You need to have a ultimate trust.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's a trust thing, right?
Yeah. You've absolutely got to be very well known to each other, and you've got to be full of trust for that person if you're going to allow them to dominate you. But it's so what happens if you're receiving excruciating pain in a BDSM scenario? What actually starts to happen is your brain will emit endorphins, just like a drug. And those endorphins will make you feel very high. So even if you're not turned on by pain, you will experience some kind of high. And that's why a lot of people, myself included, can get addicted to torture. And I got addicted to torture on the downside when I was practicing BDSM in a bad way. But there are actually people who do get turned on by pain. And so that's a masochist. So I'm a submissive. So I like to submit and give pleasure to the dominatrix, but I don't actually like pain. Masochists actually get turned on by pain. And there's a theory and I like this theory, that the reason why someone would get turned on by pain is because during childbirth, somehow that individual baby, when he was coming out, downloaded emotionally and through the cells and through the psyche, downloaded the pain of the mother in childbirth, and their brain fused pain with euphoria.
Is that a fact?
At childbirth. I think that's one theory. I like it. It sort of makes sense.
It's a theory by doctors. Some say no, some say yes.
I don't think it's peer reviewed yet, but yeah, it's a theory. I don't think I don't know how much research has been done into it. I mean, again, some people have the theory that golden rain is people like golden rain if their mother peed on them when they came out of the womb. I mean, it's a very primal process, the birthing process. So stuff happens, and it can download into the baby's psyche. And I mean, babies who are taken out by cesarean can often have trauma attached with being in dark spaces and and getting trapped, because for the baby coming out via cesarean, it's much more traumatic than coming out the ordinary way. So that all of these things affect the psyche of the baby, and some studies have been done on that. I don't know how much has been done to explore the derivation of BDSM interests, but it's certainly there.
Can you admit that some of the childbirthing, we still don't know the connection between baby and mother, so we can't say whether those aren't true facts or not. We just haven't really studied all of them yet.
I agree. I don't think we have studied it. And I mean, how would you, because how can you measure what's going down into the psyche of that baby? I mean, unless you've got pins and electrodes going into their brain, which would be far too intrusive and unacceptable. So it's a very difficult thing to measure. And you can't interview a baby when they're 1 week old. How did that feel for you? So, but maybe one day in the future we might be able to psychically read people's brains. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what we'll be able to do in the future under artificial intelligence? Oh my gosh. Yeah, AI will probably work it out, won't they?
Yeah, they would. Where do you see yourself going in the future with your future books and your relationship and your many awards, more awards coming your way? Tell me, Philly trip, tell me everything.
Well, I really, so next year I would like to go to the Philadelphia American Library Association book convention. And I found one of the most effective ways of selling books is literally just having a stand there and jumping on people as they walk past. The ALA, American Library Association of Librarians, is actually a very diverse group of people. So when at the book convention, there was lots of things about minority groups, racism in libraries, the whole issue of transgender and books being forbidden by the Republican Party. And a lot of discussion on 10 Commandments in schools and all of that. Really fascinating. Lots and lots of hot potato issues that were being discussed at this book convention. So it's a very diverse, open-minded group of people. The LGBT community is very, very well represented. So as I was at the convention, I could see lots of people from my community, and I was jumping on them and saying, I'd like to introduce you to my book. And a lot of people were stopping and saying, yeah, I'll buy a copy, because they're interested in books, you see. And that my memoir, that subject appealed to them. So I'd sign a copy, they'd pay me $12 and off we go. So next year, I think I'd like to go to the Philadelphia Book Convention, and I'll book myself a stand, and I'll take 100 books or something and see if I can sell them. But I think this year I'm just going to focus on promoting the current book. This is book number 1, my first book. And then I think as soon as this starts to take off a bit, I've got some really great podcasts, and yourself included, coming up over the next couple of months. So I'm expecting to get quite a lot of exposure through through online media, and pick up the book sales on there. Then we'll start working on my sequel. And eventually, I guess in 5 years from now, I'd like to think I'm an acclaimed author. And maybe some of my books are starting to get attraction from real big publishing firms, the HarperCollinses and Penguin Random Houses. If I can establish myself first as a really bona fide LGTB author within 5 years from now. That's sort of the game plan.
If you had to give advice to anybody in the LGBT or LGTB community that is young, like experiencing the same exact trauma and the same exact inspiration, goals, and wanting to be in the BSD or BDSM scene, and do it in a healthy way, and then possibly write a book about the good parts of it, what advice would you have to give them?
Well, I always say to people, and especially this is so strong in America now with this whole Project 2025 looming in the horizon, and I really hope, I'm just going to be a bit political here, but I really hope that what happened in France happens in America. So I don't know if you saw the French right wing did really well in the French elections and made a huge surge forward, but it's flipped the other way. All the anti-white supremacy, all the open-minded anti-war in Gaza, all of them voted, and the French parliament has completely flipped the other way. And I sort of hope that this happens, that there's a huge oppression. This white supremacy has really reared its ugly head in the US recently, and it's frightening. And I really hope that the open-minded, LGBT, diverse, grounded, transgender people can fight back and swing it the other way. Because so if you're in your youth and you're coming to terms with your sexuality with all this nonsense going on in America right now, I think it's really hard to be openly gay or openly transgender right now. There's so many people who have muscle to cast you down because they feel religion is behind them and the Republican Party and MAGA Republicans are behind them, that you are not worthy. And I think it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So my advice to anybody out there who is struggling with this is love yourself. You are the way God made you. Be yourself. Be authentic to yourself. Love yourself. Embrace who you are. It's nature. It's natural. That is who God intended you to be. And love and embrace yourself and shine like the person and persona that God wanted you to be. That's the most important thing. Learn to love yourself and everything else will flow easily. And don't be put off by these mad, extreme right white supremacists who are talking utter nonsense, utter hatred and nonsense. And they claim to be Christians with all this hatred. It's unbelievable. Complete oxymoron.
Okay.
So love yourself.
Well said. Well said. And tell me, like, how can the people reach you, Elizabeth?
So you can find my book on Amazon. It's on all the global markets in Amazon. If you type in EXODAI Hendrick, EXODAI on its own won't deliver my book. It's not big enough on search yet. So EXODAI Hendrick, that will find my book for you. Or you can go to my website, which is www.exodai.co.uk. And that's got a little page about the book. It's really a landing page, and there's a big orange button that will send you to Amazon. So I'm also on Instagram, actually. If you're watching on Instagram, my Instagram handle is at EXODAI Narrated, all one word, EXODAI Narrated. There's lots of videos of me narrating parts of the book. Winston, you asked about a part of the book. I won't read it now because we haven't got time, but I always send people to chapter 8. In chapter 8, that's my first immersion into BDSM, and I'm at a BDSM party, a very swanky millionaire's apartment. He's having a BDSM party. There's about 20 people, and that's where I have my first immersion, my first experience in BDSM, chapter 8. Very exciting chapter.
Well said. Thank you so much, Miss Hendrick. Stay on the line. Thank you guys for watching. You take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.